4 things I liked about the Adidas Adipower 2. Now before diving into the pros, I want to make a note that this is an entirely different shoe almost from the original Adidas Adipower. So if you are an Adipower diehard fan, I'm sorry, but this has a lot of changes to it, and stick with me because we're gonna cover them all in this video. So what are the 4 things I like about this model? Number 1 is I like the simplistic design. The woven textile upper is simple in design, has 3 lateral stripes on the outside for aesthetics. So if you like simple in your training shoes and lifting shoes, I think the Adipower 2 nails that perfectly. The second thing I like is that the shoe is made a little bit wider and the woven textile stretches a little bit. So if you have a flatter foot or you need something to accommodate a lot of toe splay, I think this model will fit the bill pretty well. There is a little bit more maneuverability in this toe compared to the Adipower. So if you're looking for more of a recreational shoe that has a little bit of flex to it, maneuverability, and is a little bit more comfortable to wear throughout your workouts, the Adipower 2 is a good bet. My final pro with this model is the heel height. It's consistent with the original Adipower, which comes in at 0.79 inches or 20.1 millimeters. So all in all, those are my favorite things about this model. There are a couple things that are consistent, like the heel height, but overall this thing has a lot of changes to it. Now let's dive into some of the cons. 3 cons I have with the Adidas Adipower 2 include 1, the lack of torsion system. In the original Adidas Adipower, they had that midfoot torsion system, which separated the toe from the heel in terms of maneuverability and functionality. This shoe does not have that. So if you did like that torsion system that provided a little bit of that midfoot and arch support, then you're gonna be disappointed because the Adipower 2 does not have it. Now, if you have a wider foot, then I actually think the Adipower 2 will serve you a little bit better because it doesn't feel super awkward having that jacked up midfoot area or just a little bit more of that supportive area. My second con with this model is just how flexible it is and how maneuverable it is. It's a lot different than the original Adipower. This shoe bends a lot more, which makes it a lot more comfortable to wear on a day-to-day, like just more recreational basis. But if you are a competitive weightlifter, for example, then I think this shoe may be just a little bit too flexible for you, and honestly, I think you'll be better served if you like having that more rigidity in the Adipower 1, reaching for that style shoe. My third con with this model is the potential issue with durability on the outsole. The outsole got restructured and it has this grippy rubber on the toe and the heel, and it's a little bit more flat for the midfoot, and it grips really well, don't get me wrong, but I'm really curious to see how this shoe holds up over months and months of training on different surfaces with these bumps up here. I wanna know if they're gonna wear down and if it's actually gonna be a little bit more slippery compared to what it feels like now. Granted, there's no way of really knowing that until we all put them through the test for months on end, but that is one con that I could see potentially having with this model. The price for the Adidas Adipower 2 is $200. Now that is right in line with most big name companies' new models. So like the Romaleos 3 when they came out were $200, the Reebok Legacy were $200, the Adipower is $200 as well. So if you're not a fan of spending that much and you want more of a budget-friendly shoe, the Powerlift 4 is like $50 right now. The Power Perfect 3 is about $100. We'll link those down in the description below. So again, is $200 worth it for this model? Yes and no. I think it really comes down to how you want to use this shoe. If you base your thoughts on the pros, cons, and the performance of the shoe, then I think you could justify the price depending on your goals and needs. So now let's chat performance of the Adidas Adipower 2. I'm gonna break this performance section into 2 different sections, and that's recreational and more functional fitness lifting, and then more of your dedicated weightlifting. So in terms of recreational lifting and functional fitness, I think this shoe is pretty awesome. It's way more comfortable than the Adipower 1 to wear for longer durations, and it's a lot more maneuverable, so you can do more movements in them without having a ton of discomfort. You can honestly pretty much jump in these shoes if you're doing it for a short duration, and it's really not that uncomfortable. So if you are doing, let's say, a Metcon that has box jumps and squats or some other compound movement like a power clean or something, this shoe fits the bill pretty dang well, and it doesn't require you to change shoes mid-workout. So in terms of just overall functional fitness and the recreational lifter, I think you'll like this shoe. So when it comes to squatting specifically, I think this model is pretty awesome. Has a strong TPU heel, so it supports weight very well. And the wider toe box that's very maneuverable allows you to fully splay the toes and grip the ground super well. So if you want just a squat shoe, I think this shoe is a good bet. Now let's talk about the dedicated weightlifter who wants a new shoe. Is this shoe gonna be your best bet? Yes and no. I think it's gonna really come down to what you want in your shoe. If you like a little bit more of a reactive shoe that is just a little bit more firm and less maneuverable, then the Adipower 2 is not gonna be for you. So it's gonna really come down to what you prefer. And obviously, if you're vested in weightlifting as a sport, then you probably have a preference by now in terms of the shoes you like to wear most. So be warned, if you reach for the Adipower 2, it's very flexible, very maneuverable, and it's probably almost exactly the opposite of what you're used to in the original Adidas Adipower if you're a fan and wear that shoe now. So now let's discuss size and fit. This is a size 10 shoe. In all of our lifting shoe reviews, I wear size 10 to give you context in terms of sizing up, staying true to size, or sizing down. So now let's see how the Adipower 2 feels and fits. So different lacing system, so I can really pull that shoe tight. We have 5 eyelets that run up on the outside, the 6th eyelet back there for lace lock. If you enjoy lace locking your shoes, you're gonna lace up. We're gonna knot once, ample shoestring, so I'll knot twice. No issue with shoestring length at all. We'll pull the strap fully tight to check for any overlay. This strap is as tight as I can crank it, and it's still far from the ground. That's a good sign for limiting any form of strap dragging. So how does this shoe fit? So in terms of just overall fit and feel, it's very snug. It's a lot different than the Adipower 1 in my opinion. I feel like I'm very much more form fit through the midfoot. In terms of just overall room up here in the toe box, I can splay pretty well, but it is a bit tight up here towards the end of the toe. So if you are a little bit on the larger side of your true to size shoe model, then I would say almost go up a half size in this model. The heel cup back here holds you pretty well. There's never any heel slip. Overall stability, it feels very snug throughout the midfoot and the toe. So in terms of size and fit, if you're on the smaller end of your true to size model, then I would say you're pretty good, probably going true to size. But if you're erring on the larger side, or you just want a little bit more room up there in the toe to avoid any toe jamming, then I would recommend going up a half size for the Adipower 2. So the construction of the Adipower 2. I have the Adipower 1 here for reference to show differences and similarities in the models. So to kick off this review, let's dive up here at the toe. So we have some air holes up here at the toe for ventilation. The full outer construction is a woven textile upper, and that goes throughout the full shoe. That's a lot different when you look at the Adipower 1's difference in textures and the synthetic leather. It's a lot different in terms of the outer construction. I mentioned this earlier in the con section, but the lacing system is a lot different. As you can see on the Adipower 1, we have the loop down here and just that more spacious toe. On the Adipower 2, it's a bit more similar to the Powerlift 4 model. Making our way to the outsole and midsole up here on the toe. So outsole has that kind of sticky rubber feel. It feels like a knurling, but made out of rubber. It has a toe lip that comes up a bit so to prevent any form of durability issues with lipping on the toe. I'm a huge fan of that. The Adipower 1 also offered that, and there was never really any issues with this model breaking down either. Going to the midfoot and the midsole, we have a plastic TPU midsole that goes throughout. It's very similar to how the Adipower's 1 is constructed, but there is no visible pillar system, and again, there is no torsion system in the midfoot. The midfoot in here is more like a shank, so it goes straight into the toe box, as opposed to offering that midfoot stability that the torsion system did in the original Adipower 1. We have that knurling material going all the way throughout here. It doesn't have any grip to it, it's just kind of bumpy. I don't really understand the point to that, but I guess it's for aesthetics. Making our way to the outsole of the middle foot and the heel, we have again that kind of bumpy rubber texture back here on the heel. It's a bit more flat through the midfoot. This feels literally just like a barbell, in all honesty, just with rubber. So if they were trying to emulate a barbell, cool, but I hope this lasts in terms of durability and gripping a platform and other surfaces. Making our way back to the heel itself, we have a decently high boot. It's very similar to what I think the Adipower's offered. It has a bit of a padding throughout, just like the Adipower 1. The only difference is that there is a lip back here to pull that shoe on. Same support in terms of just the overall boot and how the TPU on the heel kind of ramps up to really close that heel in. We have 5 eyelets that go up the midfoot. And then we have that 6 back here for lace lock if you enjoy lace locking your shoes. The strap itself is more of like a nylon feel compared to the previous Adipower 1 that has more of like a bit of a synthetic leather and nylon combination. And also something that's really interesting about this model is how the strap actually laces up and loops. It's a lot lower down on the midfoot compared to the Adipower 1 on the Adipower 2. So as you can see, the strap is sitting around in the midfoot area, or like just the middle of the foot for that matter, as opposed to closer to the top of the foot on the Adipower 1. Overall stability purposes of this, I didn't really feel any differences, and I think it's gonna be just fine for most folks. It's just one of those little aesthetic differences that I think got changed with the Adipower 2's like pretty much full construction overhaul. In terms of similarities, we had the tongue that was the same, the heel height's the same, it's still a TPU heel, but there were a lot of differences in this model. So I think if you're looking for a shoe that's exactly like the Adipower 1, this is not gonna be the best bet. It's very, very different, and it offers a lot of different features compared to the Adipower 1. That concludes my review of the Adidas Adipower 2. This shoe is a lot different than the original Adidas Adipower, and if you want to read more on the details of all the changes that went into this shoe, check out our written review and Google BarBend and Adidas Adipower 2.